Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Burning Roar podcast. I'm Jake Scarborough, joined by my co-hosts Fidel Fabian and Kyler Boggs. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
All right, well, we got a little bit to talk about this week. First off was the chaotic Bristol races, starting off with the truck race. Kyler, your go.
I mean, just like any other truck race, it was normal. I didn't watch most of it, but I only watched towards probably the end of stage three and stuff. It was all right for a Bristol race.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat as Guy. I only watched like the final 15 laps right after the last yellow. Saw Kyle Busch unfortunately ruin the final restart. He fell back to nearly a second and a half. We saw him drive all the way up to who was it, Christian Eckes, who ended up winning, but just one more lap and he possibly would have had it. But can't rate it since I didn't really watch the race.
Mm. I mean, I'd say it was a decent race. I got to watch most of it. Obviously seeing Kyle Busch kind of have to chase down somebody for a change at Bristol was entertaining to watch. As you said, Fidel, one more lap, he probably gets Eckes. Um, we saw Matt Crafton become more towards a front runner again, which was nice to see in my opinion. Especially given like the past year, he's just been given so much hate. So to see him kind of run towards the front again, I wonder if that's going to be a change of pace for him or if that was just kind of like a one-time thing, you know, hopefully it happens again, see what happens throughout the season obviously. One of the big takeaways after that race though was Nick Sanchez getting into another in quote fight. I don't know if you guys know what really happened leading up to it, but if you guys want to
Yeah.
take any shots on that.
It was the Stewart Friesen incident where he moved up and basically did a Kyle Busch 2009 on Brad Keselowski where he spun himself out. And I mean, I saw the replay. Yeah, Nick could have backed out a little bit, but at the same time, the high side produces such a run anyways, from what we've seen in recent years and stuff. Uh, Friesen could have stayed on the bottom, in my opinion, and for him to, go over to Nick and, be that way, I mean, to me, it's not a good look on his part because, we've all seen the replay, and I don't think there's one person that really sided with Stuart Friesen on that. So, you know, um, uh, it's not a good look on Stuart Friesen's part.
Oh yeah.
He just needs to keep his cool, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, it was just some typical Bristol heated moments right after the race. It's kind of odd that Nick Sanchez has gone into what his second fight in the Truck Series in just less than 1 year, and coincidentally, they're both with older veterans in the Truck Series, and both drivers are now typically hid within the NASCAR community. But not much to say. Just typical Bristol racing, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. This one is on Friesen. He just needs to keep his cool. It's kind of just trying to look for a scapegoat to an incident, and it happened to be Nick Sanchez in that situation. As you guys did mention, this is Sanchez's second incident with somebody that's resulted in a fight, and I do think what's resulted in that is his personality because you can look back at that video. He's not trying to explain himself really. He's being a dick back, and you know, I get you've got some old guy yelling in your face, whatever, but in that situation you need to keep your cool. And I saw someone comment this on a NASCAR post saying you can tell Sanchez isn't getting pulled to the side by a Cup Series driver and being broken down what how to handle situations and stuff like that. Like you've seen, Bubba do with Raja. You can tell Nick's just kind of in his own mindset. And sure, it's happened twice. And I'll go back and say Talladega. I'm not blaming that on him. I'm not blaming that on Crafton as terms of the racing incident. As for the fight, we've never gotten a straight story. on how that worked out. But as for Bristol, that wasn't on him. But I do find it odd that he's been in 2 fights now, and his personality with the situation or the way he's handled it hasn't been proper either. So that's something teams are going to look at. And, you can only stick with an organization for so long. And we've seen that before. So it's just a matter of time before someone tells him, hey, you need to figure your shit out when it comes to someone getting in your face. Um, Moving on from that, though, we have the Cup Series race, which um fans seem to like. I know I've got a different opinion. I know Kyler's got a different opinion. So Kyler, feel free to share yours.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, yeah, the tires wearing was nice to see, different lines and stuff and stuff like that. But, in my opinion, the drivers don't need to be really, trying to extend the tire life much as possible until they pretty much blow out. So, I'm not really a fan of that, and I'm sure Goodyear will try and figure out what to do to prevent that. But I feel like based on the feedback from what a lot of people saw, seen and stuff, I feel like maybe Goodyear will let that just be its own thing and stuff at maybe like Bristol or Martinsville or whatever the case may be. But um, I'm just not a fan of, drivers trying to run long as possible to, make it to the end of the race. That way, they don't have to worry about the tires blowing out and stuff. And, even when drivers were blowing out tires, they've almost caused numerous incidents within the last 50 laps of the race. So, with how fast and slow at the same time Bristol is, it's kind of like, you know, a little bit of an issue in my opinion because you could be on fresh tires trying to pass guys on old tires and someone comes up, bam. And so I feel like that also increases the risk of crashes and stuff like that, which is not a good look to be honest because I mean, yeah, obviously on new fresh tires it's going to help, but we haven't seen that much of a difference in years at Bristol. And so, I think Goodyear needs to take a look at that and, improve the tire again, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I'm kind of different on the tire wear situation on Bristol. I really liked the race. I felt like this was the first time in a long time where drivers were in control of their own race because over the last how many who knows how many years, it's always been aero blocking, aerodynamics, trying to run a different line than the guy ahead just so you don't get into dirty air. But today, or not today, this past weekend was the first time in a while where I didn't have to hear about aero blocking. It was more about just conserving your tires, trying to be smooth on the throttle, smooth with your steering, everything. And that's what I like. I'd like to see the most talented drivers on the track struggle the most and try to see the best way to get the best position. And that is what I like to see with this tire compound. Now, we'll agree with what Brad Kozlowski said this past weekend. This tire wear was at a 10. Goodyear should probably bring it down to an 8 the next time we come here and try to see what happens. Hopefully, we can get something like this, but something slightly more toned down. But overall, that race for me was a 9.5 out of 10.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Keselowski quote because I agree with that. The tire wear does need to be brought down from what it was, but I am with Kyler on how the race was as a whole. I don't find it entertaining seeing guys go less than half throttle around a racetrack, especially one that's so small and demanding. Yes, you want to see racing where you have to manage your stuff, and we haven't seen that in a few years now. But the issue was it really didn't matter how you handled your stuff. You're gonna blow a tire no matter what. We saw the guy who won the race blow a tire at one point. It didn't matter who you were. It was just a matter of, oh, can I save the car if it blows the tire? Am I going to be able to make it to pit road, or am I going to spin out in front of half the field? That was all that race was, and it was just a huge what if scenario. So I do agree. Yes, the race was interesting to see people have to manage their stuff again. And that's why I feel, the veteran drivers were able to capitalize and get good finishes because they're used to that compared to guys like Ty Gibbs who aren't really used to that at the Cup Series level. But it does need to be toned down from what it was because that's just not entertaining seeing guys, literally coast around running pace speed basically for race position. I just felt like it could have been a lot different. And I said this beforehand. The fan base is inconsistent on this because the fan base every week's talking about how Goodyear makes a shit tire, yet all of a sudden Goodyear's being like praised for finally giving us a good tire. But the thing is, this good tire everyone's talking about is one that kept blowing out before the fuel window. So it makes no sense to me on how that works, but that's just sports fan base as a whole, I guess. Um, Nevertheless, moving forward, we have what was it? We had news going into CoTA. I already forgot what it was. It was Matt DiBenedetto has found a ride, being part-time entry for Viking Motorsports, which is partnered with Ryan Sieg's team, replacing CJ McLaughlin after they weren't able to qualify for two of the races. So, I mean, your guys' opinions, predictions, whatever the case may be on this.
I mean, I would say it's a very random thing to come out of the blue and stuff, but I mean, at the same time, it's not really surprising to me because Matt's been trying to find a ride for, however long he has been. And um I don't really have any other opinions on it, but I don't really see him doing a lot in that ride, considering it's not a top tier Xfinity car. It's pretty much midfield at best, in my opinion. So, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, in my opinion, Matt DiBenedetto's probably past his better days at this point. I thought he was gonna have a much better time in trucks, but he got one win out of it, but the other times he wasn't doing as well. I mean, he got to a point where he got sacked by his own team. But I'm glad that he has a what third, fourth chance now, and let's see what he can do this time.
I'm not going to ask what that noise was. That could have been many different things. Let's just hope it wasn't what it sounded like. That's the first thought. Anyways, I'm interested with this move because although I will say it was kind of an expected one at some point for him to find a ride. Um, I'm interested to see it at the Xfinity level because we haven't seen him run the Xfinity series in quite a while, it seems. So to him kind of jump in there, as Kyler said, it's not really a front running car. We've seen Ryan Sieg's team make progress, but obviously with it being a side group running the show for the car, it's going to be odd to see, do they bring in the proper funding? Can they make this a quick car? Um, Guy's been out for a few races, hasn't been in the Xfinity series in a while. Is Matt DiBenedetto capable of rebuilding a foundation for himself? Because he used to go from fan favorite to a very split driver after his last Cup Series start, where fans loved him, and then all of a sudden it became a solid 50-50 on if people liked him or not, because of controversial comment. Then whole truck series fiasco, ran with a underfunded team, kind of just ran around, won a race, made the playoffs the following year, got released, which we still haven't gotten full details about. It's always been speculation with that. So there's a lot of scenarios playing into this on how does this work out? And I truthfully think that if we get to a plate track, for example, if he's running a plate track, if he's running a road course, he could possibly have a solid run. I believe it's in the cards for him. It's just a matter of can he make himself profitable off this move and put himself back on the top of a free agency market at the end of the year. Because that's what matters. If he wants to get back up to the Cup Series full time and he wants another opportunity with a big team, he needs to take advantage of these races that he's got on his schedule and do whatever he can with them. Don't make the same mistake twice type deal. Don't do what CJ did, basically. Don't fail to qualify and then get dropped because of it. And whether that's CJ's fault or not, it's still what happened. But I don't think. Oh well, there's one other thing. Going into F1 Melbourne this weekend, Alex Albon crashed in practice, and it was announced earlier today that uh, Williams didn't have a backup chassis for the team, and that Albon will be filling in for Sargent instead. So Logan Sargent has to sit out because Alex Albon wrecked his car, and now Albon's using his car. So very wacky situation. I don't know. Yeah, I want to hear your guys' opinions on it.
Honestly, I think it's dumb on Williams' part. I mean, I don't because the thing is, all throughout last year, it was a speculation of whether or not Williams would keep him or not or re-sign him. So, in my opinion, it's like, why do you re-sign him if you can't trust him with the car? Because it's very clear that they don't trust him because he wouldn't be sitting out if they do.
Exactly.
So, and I think it's it's just tough luck for Albon. I mean, he needs. I mean, obviously the decision's already been made, but if you crash your car for the weekend, pretty much, you just need to sit out yourself. That's what happened with Stroll at Singapore last year, and so um, I just think that it's a poor decision on Williams' part, and it's gonna. I wouldn't say affect Logan's race preparation and stuff, but it does raise the question of what if this happens again, and and instead of Albon crashing out, it would be Logan Sargent crashing his car. Would they boot Albon out for the weekend and put Sargent in the car? I just I just don't agree with the move from Williams because obviously a lot of preparation goes into the weekend for the drivers and everything. And so I think for Logan not to even be able to qualify at all or, race in general is just a poor move from Williams on their part, in my opinion, at least. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. But that's pretty much all I have on that as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's basically quite what Kyler said. I I have no clue why Williams was not prepared to have another chassis for their team. And I don't understand why get rid of another driver for not making a mistake and reward the driver for making a mistake and so giving him a chance to continue racing for the weekend. But I got nothing else.
I'm in this boat. Yeah, Albon shouldn't be running, and I'm kind of pissed off at the statement he made where he's just like, "Oh, I feel bad for Logan. This shouldn't be happening to him." Blah 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 blah. Okay, well, if that's how you feel, tell the team you're not running in his car. It's as simple as that. I mean, this is Williams. This is a team that's not running for much. They're running for maybe an eighth place in constructors. What happened at Monaco a couple of years ago? Charles Leclerc qualified. What was it? On pole, wrecked in qualifying. Oh, why didn't they put him in Carlos Sainz's car? It doesn't make sense. This is a team that is making a dumb move, and whether you're seeing a split decision on fans once again, typical. Where they're like, oh well, Albon should be in it. He's the guy that can bring in points. Logan's just gonna run around P18. Blah 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 blah. It's not the point. You're you're taking out a guy who did nothing wrong and essentially punishing him when the guy that wrecked the car is getting benefited for essentially wrecking the car. That makes no sense to me. If he wrecked the car, he should be the one getting punished, end quote. It's just dumb. It's a terrible way of handling the situation. Sure, yeah, what was it last year? Albon ran a crazy strategy where it was like a one stop and he got points or some shit. Cool. That's probably not going to work this year, but cool.
That
Like,
was in 2022, I believe.
Okay.
Last year he crashed out of the race. Go figure.
Thank you. You just proved my point. Anyways, um, no, that's it. It just makes zero sense at all. I don't know. Um, Williams is cooking that blue stuff, I guess. Nevertheless, I don't think there's any other news. So, in terms of predictions this weekend, we've got IndyCar Thermal Club. We're going to start off with that. They're basically their glorified all-star race. That's the second race of the year. Um, I don't know. Your guys' predictions?
I'm gonna go with Marcus Ericsson because he was fastest in testing at that track in particular overall. So I think he's gonna have pretty good pace there. Obviously, the heat races and everything is gonna throw a question of how everything's gonna be because like you said, it's literally just the All-Star race for IndyCar. I do find it weird that it's the second race of the season. Um, it probably like I'm sure like this was just brought up in the off season and everything and you know, um, I'm sure after next year or after this season, they'll probably decide to push it back, like either middle of the season or maybe at the end of the season for like an end of season, prize race and stuff like that, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. But I think it'll be pretty fun to watch. It's something new for IndyCar, and I know that IndyCar recently has been making pretty good decisions on, what to bring into the sport and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a pretty good race. But Marcus Ericsson's going to be my pick for that race.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on with Alex Flow. Reason why is just I'm just going on a whim. I just looked over at open testing and I saw he was fastest, so I'm gonna just go on a good bet and say that Alex Flow wins this thing.
I'm not going Ganassi driver. I'll be different here. Um, or well, no, Ericsson's not Ganassi anymore. Okay, well that brain fart. We're living in the past. I'll go Penske driver. I guess we'll go with the big three teams. I'm gonna say Will Power on this one. He's known for being a road course guy. That's always been his thing. I feel like this track's kind of up his alley, more of a flat track. Little bit of S's, smooth, slow corners. This is something that seems like he'd benefit in. He's known for making more daring moves. If you look back at his road course stats, they're typically street circuits. This is probably as close you can get to a street circuit with it being a permanent track. So with just how flat and bumpy and weird corners you get. So I'm interested. I'm getting is it Baltimore or Houston? Kind of a mix of both. Um, how this track is. So I'll go in on willpower on this one. We do have F1 obviously in Australia, as previously mentioned. So podium predictions. Just gonna scratch off the first place spot because I think we're all in the same mindset of that.
Yeah. Obviously, Max first. I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball here. I think it's gonna be Oscar Piastri finishing second, with Fernando Alonso finishing third.
Okay.
I was kind of going in the same ballpark as Kyler, but I think Leclerc finishes second and Oscar Piastri finishes third.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna say once again Piastri. I do think he gets a podium too. I'll say he gets second and Perez gets third. I just feel like the Red Bull's better for him this year, or he's more used to it, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's my go-to on that. We've got all three series in NASCAR running at CoTA this weekend. Truck practice currently going on as we're recording. So across the weekend predictions.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna go with Nick Sanchez, to be honest, because I think he can be pretty good at Coda. For Xfinity, I'm gonna go with AJ Allmendinger, and for the Cup Series, I'm gonna go with William Byron, to be honest, because he's shown a lot of more pace on the road courses recently. Last year, he was running top five in almost all of them, I think. So he's definitely shown a lot of pace in the road courses. So those are my picks for NASCAR this weekend.
Okay.
For trucks, I picked this guy a lot, and every time I've been proven wrong, but I'm gonna go at it for like what, a fifth time. I'm saying Ben Rhodes wins trucks
Holy
at
shit, you
CoTA.
need to stop. Stop. He's going to blow another tire. Every time you predicted him, something dumb happens to him. Let bro live.
For Xfinity, I'm gonna go with Justin Allgaier. I kind of feel bad for him for what happened to him at Phoenix, so I just want to give him a little pity pick and just say that he'll win a CoTA. And for Cup, it's gonna be a very surprising pick. Denny Hamlin has been gassing this guy up all day, so I'm going for him. I say Kamui Kobayashi
Get
wins at CoTA
no,
and Cup.
no, no. I'm kicking him out of the call. No. All right, everyone say bye to Fidel. He's not finishing this episode.
Ciao.
Um anyways, yeah, don't report. Not yet. Not warranted. Truck series. Safe bet. I'm just going to go um Christian Eckes. Feel like that's a logical move. Xfinity Series, AJ Allmendinger, easy move. Cup Series, going Allmendinger again. Kyler, hear me out. Love SVG.
Hmm.
I don't understand the hype for him at Code.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I do, to be honest, because he's pretty much the next Marcus Ambrose in my
Oh
eyes.
yeah,
But I just think that I just think it could be calmed down a little bit. I mean, he did finish top 5 or top 10, whatever it was, at the Indy Road Course last year as well. So he obviously has the talent and everything, and I think Coda will be a good place for him to really understand how everything goes. And obviously, we saw last year 4 wide dive bombs in the last parts of the race, and I'm sure he's somewhat used to that in supercars. So he'll definitely use that, and he has Chastain and Suarez as teammates, so I'm sure they'll give him pointers, like they did to Kimi Räikkönen last year, whenever he was in the 91.
yeah,
So you know, I think it'll be good for him. He'll probably finish top 10 at best, in my opinion.
yeah. See, like my whole take on it is there's people predicting him for like sweeping, right?
Hmm.
Or at least winning one of the races. My whole thing is, you know, I'm not dissing the guy's talent or his abilities at all. But I feel like Chicago was just the perfect circumstance for him to win
Hmm.
because, street circuit, NASCAR's never done anything like that. That's the closest thing he could get to his racing style. You had the rain as a factor, adds into it was just the perfect weekend to work
Hmm.
in his favor. Indy, a track that those guys are familiar with, he's not. He was at a disadvantage. Same thing at CoTA. He hasn't run a race at CoTA since I think 2014, and it's been a while. I feel like his talents on road courses, they're there. He may get he'll probably get a top 10 in both races. Yeah, as you said. But as far as running for the win, I just don't see it. I feel like if he's gonna run for a win, it's gonna be at these tight road courses. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to, let's say, Sonoma, wins one where you're just kind of on edge more. But I just don't see it at CoTA because you're able to just run the shit out of it. Sonoma, you go off the track, you're in the barrier essentially. CoTA, you're off the track, you're gaining like 5 seconds of time because your
Hmm.
track limits don't apply there apparently. So I feel like it's just not in his wheelhouse essentially. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I know there's a lot of people within our Discord that are saying SVG for the weekend, so um, guess we'll keep an eye on it. Nevertheless, I think that's everything, right?
Hmm.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of the Burning Road Podcast. We'll see you guys next week with race reviews from this weekend and predictions going into the next, and also covering any news that's needed. Also, later today, since this is getting uploaded. Or, well, I guess this is getting uploaded tonight. So tomorrow night, during the Xfinity, or right after the Xfinity race, iRacing special event, Sebring 12 hour. I'll be streaming on this channel, my onboard with the Shifty Sports guys. So that will probably be hell because I don't know what I'm doing in the rain. Nevertheless, thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.